Hey, Dr. Mindy here, and on this video, I want to talk more about the brain changes that are happening to women as they go through the menopausal experience. And those of you who are either on the other side of it or you're about to go in it, this applies to you too, because from about 40 to 55, a woman's brain dramatically changes. This is why you are seeing so many behavior changes. This is why we have different emotional regulation. This is why we have different focus. And so on this video, I want to talk about specifically what those brain changes are. We're going to dive into Lisa Mosconi's research, who is the #1 female brain researcher on the planet right now. And we're going to talk about what you can do about it, because that's really the most important thing. Before I do the what you do about it, I really want to tell you that here's the cool thing about this moment that we're living in as far as access to all this incredible information about our health on social media. Make sure that when you listen to videos like mine, or you go and listen to any other expert's video, that you take in the information and you decide what's right for you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to show you what that process is like, and then you can make the best decisions for yourself. Deal? Okay, let's dive in. So, there is a lot that is going on with the brain changes after 40. And I think we've talked a lot in the zeitgeist right now about the hormonal changes. And if you have been following the menopause conversation for a while, you probably know that we weren't talking about it like as little as 5 years ago. I mean, those of you that are in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, you went through the process where nobody talked about it. And we've now come to this place where everybody's talking about it, which is fine, but you have to decide, again, what pieces of information work for you. One of the things that has been the most disheartening for me is how the conversation has centered in on HRT. And I think HRT is phenomenal if it's right for you. That is purely between you and your doctor. That is a conversation to have with you and your doctor. But what I'm hoping videos like this will do is help you see you have other options, or you have options that will fit well with HRT. And I want you to understand yourself. Because when all of a sudden you're have suicidal thoughts and you're thinking crazy ideas and you're irritated by everybody around you, sometimes we're like, who's up there? And you put it in the comments. I've done that a couple times where I've just been like, stop talking to me, who is in there? So I want you to understand what this process looks like. So let's dive in. So there are 3 things that I want to unpack in this video. One is how menopause changes your brain. How those changes will make you feel, and what you can do to keep your brain strong, not only during the process, but even on the other side of it. So, first, let me introduce you to Lisa Mosconi. I've talked about her a lot here on my channel. She came out with a groundbreaking study in 2021 in Nature magazine, which is a huge research publication. And she tracked women's brains and the changes that they made starting at early stages of menopause all the way through end stages. And what she noticed is that there is a shrinking of parts of the female brain. Now, before you freak out, I want you to understand that shrinking isn't a bad thing. So size doesn't matter when it comes to the brain, and connectivity does. So let's unpack why the brain would shrink. So what she found is that the greatest shrinking, the greatest progression of degeneration of these neurons was happening in a woman's amygdala. The amygdala is our fight or flight center. So this is where we process stress. It is also our emotional regulation center. It is an almond-shaped region that is in the middle of your brain. And when these changes happen and the amygdala starts to shrink during menopause, it's part of the reason that you are anxious. It's part of the reason that you're angry and you're irritable and you're sad, because this one center is changing. She also found that there's another center in the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. And I actually talked about this in Age Like a Girl. For those of you, it's out for pre-order now. Those of you, when you get the book, I really hope you dive into the parts where I talk about a woman's intuition, because in there I talk about this anterior cingulate cortex, which is in the prefrontal cortex. So Lisa comments that, or in her research, that this part shrinks and the amygdala shrinks because both of those centers were fueled or amplified or nourished by high doses of estrogen. This anterior cingulate, what's so powerful for it is that it is the part of the brain that looks out at your environment and makes sure that whatever you're seeing in your environment is matching what you're feeling on the inside. So this part of the brain is very primal. It's the part of the brain that way back in the hunter-gatherer days our primal friends were accessing this part of the brain to understand if they were near any danger. So their eyes were out there looking for tigers or lions that were going to eat them, while their body was also creating signals of, am I safe, looking around, are we moving away from a stressor? And those two, the body and the external environment, meet at the anterior cingulate. So it is the place where they actually, in the book, in Age Like a Girl, I talk about it's your hunches. This is the part of the brain that gives you that hunch that something's not right. So we are in this process of menopause, we are losing the emotional regulation of the amygdala, and we are losing neurons in the brain that give us that sense of something's off here, I need to move away. So if you've been calm and steady your whole life and all of a sudden you feel like your emotions are out of control, I can tell you this was me. It wasn't until I hit my 40s that all of a sudden stress really hit my brain more acutely. Then I really want you, if you resonate with that, I want you to understand that this brain change, that is part of the experience. It's the rewiring of these two areas. But in order to rewire itself, it first has to get rid of old neurons. So the way I like to think about this is it's like a garden. Think of your brain like a garden. All of a sudden, there are some neurons in there that need to be pruned away. And those neurons need to be pruned away so new neurons and new patterns of belief can start to exist. So just like in a garden, you would be like, my flowers are dead, I need to pull them out so that I can get ready to put new flowers in. The same thing is happening in your brain, that the neurons in your emotional processing center and your neurons in that area that tells you if your environment is a safe one for you, those start to be pruned away in order to make room for new beliefs. This is pivotal, because when you start to prune these neurons away, you're going to feel agitated. You're going to feel ill-equipped to handle stress because you're missing these neurons that you relied on. But what is the part of the story that's not being told is that it's pruning away on purpose so that you can actually start to grow new belief systems in this area, which is why menopause is our get out of jail free card, because our brain rewires itself to stop behaving in a way that pleases everybody else and start to behave in a way that pleases us, our individual self. So check this out. There was a 2018 study in hormones and behavior that found that menopause-aged women were less interested in social cues. These are our postmenopausal women. They were less interested in social cues compared to younger women. Now, social cues can be like just reading somebody's face, reading body language. And it wasn't that these postmenopausal women weren't reading the body language or the funny eye gestures or the social cues that were maybe telling them that somebody was upset. It was that they didn't seem to care about the social cues. So have you ever seen an older woman speak her mind and like just tell you like it is? I just had a call. I'll share this with you, and I know she's not going to care. So one of my dear friends is Leanne Rimes, the country singer. Well, she used to be a country singer. Now she's just a beautiful singer, and she's on a show called 911 Nashville. And so I just had a call from her this morning. I've been working on her health, and she was telling me a story about how somebody had done a bad job and she had spoken out, and she was like, oh my God, I got so bold in what I said to this person. And she's like, is that menopause? I'm like, yep, that's the get out of jail free card, because the younger version of you was reading the social cues and perhaps thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to speak up right now. It might not be safe. Whereas the version of you that's going towards postmenopausal year, or the postmenopausal version of you, is looking at those cues and is saying, I don't care. And that is freedom. Put in the comments if you have noticed that. And that is because of the rewiring of these two brain places in our brain that are controlling emotional regulation and monitoring our overall world. It is why we start to just speak our truth. Now, menopause also, these brain changes affect memory and focus. And what Dr. Mosconi found in her brain scan research is that there is another part of your brain that shrinks. Now, I don't want you to be depressed. This is the shrinking of the brain is making room for the new you. So the stress area changes, your intuition or your hunch area changes, and now Lisa is showing us that our hippocampus shrinks, and it's the memory center, and it starts to shrink, so all of a sudden sometimes short-term memory can happen. Now, if you look at the spectrum of women going through menopause, you'll hear a 45-year-old or a 48-year-old say, oh my God, I don't even know what I was talking about. I just stopped mid-sentence. I couldn't remember my conversation. But if you go and you talk to a very active 70-year-old, their memory, my mom is 86, and she can tell some incredible stories from not only long-term, but the short-term. Her brain is on it. So the rewiring is where the damage feels the most acute, but where you're going is amazing. And what Lisa found is that these neurons pruning away are making room for this incredible new brain to form. And there was a 2015 study that found that women saw it during menopause. They saw a decline in verbal memory throughout the menopausal process, but that they then saw a resurgence of that memory once they got to the other side. If this is you, put it in the comments. So one of the things that they have noticed is that it's very common that as you go through menopause, that things like planning, prioritizing, maintaining attention can become more difficult as this pruning is happening. But this is also part of the magic, because what Lisa explains to us is that by the end of menopause, by the time you move into the postmenopausal years, that a woman's brain has compensated for the pruning. The woman's brain knows that that pruning has happened, and it is compensated by increasing overall volume in other areas. So it preserves specifically areas that have to do with cognition, so you can still hold on to new information. It also improves executive functioning. Now let's talk about what executive functioning is. That's the seat of dementia. Executive functioning is your ability to make appropriate decisions for you. I can tell you that my father, who is 89 years old, has just been diagnosed with zero executive functioning. And when I look at his behavior and some of the obtuse things that are coming out of his mouth, I can see he has no self-control at 89 years old. Otherwise, he wouldn't say the things he says. But for women going through menopause, when we get to the other side, we have improvement in our executive functioning, making us better leaders. This is the whole rewiring process, is it's making us a better leader, because a good leader has the ability and the discernment to say things that lift people up and motivate people, and not just blurt everything out, because if you blurt everything out, you can start to diminish spirits. So for menopausal women, we start to see an improvement in this area. Guess what? Age Like a Girl, my new book. It's ready for pre-orders. And this is the most personal book I have ever written. And I'm so excited to bring it to you. If you are looking to reinvent yourself through the menopause process, or maybe you're on the other side and you're still looking for that reinvention, I'm gonna show you exactly why menopause works in your favor and how you can make it your greatest moment yet. Age like a girl. Now, there was also a 2015 study about this verbal memory saying that it followed the same pattern, that these verbal memory centers may have diminished and worsened during menopause, but they recovered once the woman got to the other side in their postmenopausal state. So, this pruning is not to be feared. It is a rewiring. The shrinking is not to be feared. It is a rewiring. Your brain is reorganizing itself for a better life, a more better discernment, for standing up and speaking your truth. There are so many reasons why this brain pruning and the shrinking is working in our advantage. The question to ask yourself is, what do I need to do to weather this pruning process? So I don't know about you, if there's any gardeners out there, but I can tell you that when we have taken out the weeds in our garden, and when we look down at the garden, it looks kind of empty. But then we start to fertilize it, we start to put new plants in it, and pretty soon it turns into a new garden. I want you to think about the same thing with your brain. So the best way to weather this moment is through ketone production. And I keep hammering this home right now because this is also your get out of jail free card. If you are struggling with brain fog and mental clarity and emotional regulation, we got to introduce you to the ketone. And I've done a ton of videos on it, and there are 5 ways you can get ketones that I will recommend. The first is my favorite, intermittent fasting. You don't have to fast long, especially when you get into those postmenopausal years. We're talking like 15 hours every day, and every day you are getting ketone production, which is facilitating this pruning process and getting you to the other side quicker, because it is helping the brain have enough energy to let go of the old and to create room for the new. So you need the energy of a ketone. So intermittent fasting is a beautiful way to do it. 15 hours. I've written a lot of books on it. I got a whole chapter on it in Age Like a Girl through the postmenopausal lens. Second way you can get ketones is through a low carb, or what they call the ketogenic diet. Now, in Age Like a Girl, I put forward a diet called the primal menopausal diet, which is a spin on ketones. And so I have lists in here, but the main thing I want you to know is that the primal menopausal diet is animal meat. We'll talk about it. If you're plant-based, you can do legumes. That's in the primal menopausal diet. We've got vegetables and fruit, fish and seafood. We've got nuts and seeds, and we have the magic of tubers, which I explain all in here why tubers are the postmenopausal brain's best friend. So let's get you eating the right foods and mixing that with fasting. Now you're getting ketones in there. Now you're getting your brain energy up to where it needs to be. And now you're moving towards this truth-telling, rooted place that you are going to love life a whole lot more over there. Okay, third way is exogenous ketones. I've talked about this before. This is taking in a ketone from the outside. I'm not a huge fan of them. I like making our own ketones, but they are an option. The fourth way you can get ketones is the easiest way, is through MCT oil. MCT oil is, you just put a teaspoon in your drink in the morning, and it will help you metabolically switch over into this place of fat burning, where you can make these ketones yourself. You don't have to spend money on making these ketones. You can make them yourself. And now this is interesting. This is a new twist. This is the fifth way to get ketones is through exercise, but a very specific exercise. So things like HIIT training and cardio, where you're like maybe doing sprints in the pool, or you're doing sprints jogging, or sprocking, or I talk about sprocking a lot in Age Like a Girl. I used to call it sprunting, where it was a sprint and a run, or a sprint and a walk. Where you are mixing, you're not just walking at the same pace, you're walking and you're doing sprints very quickly, and then you're recovering, and then sprints again, and then you're recovering. I have a whole section on it here. I've spoken about it here, but that's a great way to get ketones. And then you can even, do it by increasing cycling. So biking. So ketones aren't hard to get. We just have to put them on your radar. And the thing that I noticed in the fasting world is like when Fast Like a Girl came out, everybody started losing weight, people started having all these miraculous results. And it was the postmenopausal women that got frustrated and they didn't understand if they should be doing it. And there are other influencers out there who are saying, well, postmenopausal women shouldn't fast. And I've done interviews with these other influencers. You can go look at my Resetter podcast. But what I want to tell you for mental clarity, for the post-menopausal brain, for the menopausal brain that is rewiring itself, the ketone is the hero. And you're going to want to learn to fast, and you're going to want to dip into the primal menopausal diet, and you can exercise and add those sprints there, and you can do the MCT oil on a regular basis. You can explore with exogenous ketones, but I want you to become besties with ketones because it is the quickest way to get the brain back online and get you to the other side and get the pruning process over with, so that you can get to the other side and experience the brain that so many 60, 70, 80-year-old women, if you're one of them, if you're loving your brain over there, please put it in the comments so we all feel your hope and your inspiration. But that's what's going on. It is a getting rid of what no longer serves you so you can create what you do want. This is why it's a transformational moment. So let me know if that helps. Let me know if you have more questions on it. I'll do more videos. I'm trying to educate this to you all because I don't want you to suffer. And I'm finding that so many women are still struggling and they're scared of HRT, or they go on HRT, it's not working, and they're still scared. Put in the comments if this is you. So I want to break this down by helping you understand what's going on, but I also want you to understand the power of the ketone and how important it is for this transition. So let me know if that helps. Let me know if you have any other questions. Let me know if you've pre-ordered Age Like a Girl, because it's ready, it's out. It'll be delivered to your doorstep in December. So I am really happy and proud of what I put forth in this book. It was a 10-year research project, and I have been doubling down on writing it over the last 3 years. The last 6 months, it was my full-time job writing this book. So I'm really excited to bring it to you. It has been a true labor of love that I did on ketones, because there's no way I could have written the book without the help of my ketone friends. So as always, I hope that helps. So if you love this video, you're gonna wanna check out this video. It's kind of the sucky part of menopause is that we get a toxic dump. So when we look at unwinding the menopausal weight, we've got to look at making you insulin sensitive and look at detox.